Way back in 2005, a South Korean steel-making company known as POSCO has announced that it has signed a memorandum of understanding to initiate one of its largest overseas investments, a whopping $12 billion steel-making facility, which will be located in none other than India. At this price tag, the steel project was hailed as India's largest foreign investment project. It was a breakthrough event. Some have called it the next economic driving project. For context, India's foreign direct investment inflow received in 2005 was just $7.2 billion. Therefore, this sole project was going to be almost twice the amount than the total foreign investment the country received in that given year. The growth, however, would almost largely be felt in one particular place: Odisha and its community, as the steel project is slated to be designated here. But the real question that people would want to know is just how much will the entire POSCO steel plant bring to India? Is there a quantifiable amount, or even how many people will it employ? Thousands? Or even tens of thousands? Well, the project benefits will surely be huge, to the point that even the national government of India was praising the South Korean firm for choosing India over other countries. However, despite being the most anticipated foreign project in India, it has, until this very day, never been constructed. A number of challenges were raised against the POSCO steel plant. Public resistance was barring the project, regulatory hurdles, and several other issues. Hence, exactly 12.5 years later, after the project was announced in 2017, POSCO would officially announce that they will be pulling out of the project, leaving the people of Odisha and the entire economy of India with not a single dollar of foreign investment from POSCO. A big disappointment to the Indian economy and Odisha. The $12 billion investment that was slated to become the country's single largest project had collapsed. Who was at fault here? Did POSCO Steel fail due to the government? Was there an issue with the regulatory problems? Or even public resistance? Well, there were a lot of causes of its downfall, but to understand everything more in depth, let us start from the very beginning. The Memorandum of Understanding was signed exactly in June 2005. POSCO's management met with the government of Odisha and set up a company known as POSCO India Private Limited in August 2005. The plan that the two entities sought was to establish an integrated plant, one that would manufacture steel, mine iron ores, and other necessary ones. It would also construct the necessary infrastructures to ensure that its operations are met. The first phase of the project was going to produce 6 million tons of steel and 5.65 million tons of finished steel per year. Afterward, there would be a second phase, which would increase the total capacity to over 12 million tons of steel and 11.28 million tons of finished steel per year. The state of Odisha was playing an important partner in this entire project. They had been the ones that acquired about 25 hectares of land in Bhubaneswar for the POSCO headquarters and 4,000 hectares for the steel plant project. The 4,000-hectare project that would house the steel plant would also see the construction of a new port and storage yard. It is also detailed in the project that the 2,000-hectare patch of land would be used for the development of a township and other social infrastructures. The entire 4,000 hectares, in other words, was not just a construction for a steel project, but it was going to benefit the economy, community, and future prospects of the area. There was even a study showing that the internal rate of return to India would be up to 16.6% and produce an average of about $5.44 billion per year to the Indian economy, contributing $1.1 billion in domestic sales taxes, capital goods taxes, value-added taxes, and others. This would happen every single year for the next 35 years. Everything was going well, and the Indian economy, which was rapidly developing, needed an industrial project that was this massive. Yet as the project continued to flow, it would stumble upon challenge after challenge. First, it is simply understood that occupying 4,000 hectares of land would undisputably wreck the environment. The environmental problem, however, would badly be affected after the passing of the Forest Rights Act of 2006, which, as some have noted, is bad timing for a steel project. This act would then be used by a number of advocates, lawmakers, and environmentalists that would set the stage for POSCO's regulatory issues. Some lawmakers and even the Supreme Court of India were in this big dilemma of finding the necessary steps for sustainable development. Debates regarding economic development and environmental protection were being addressed. But despite the claims that the steel project was violating the newly enacted Forest Rights Act, the Odisha government had stated that there were no tribal people or traditional forest dwellers residing in the forest being acquired by POSCO, hence refuting the initial claim that the law was being undermined. These controversies, however, were just the beginning. Many other environmental issues would be raised by the government, to the point that POSCO India would release an official statement addressing that, quote, they have never violated any law or procedure in obtaining any governmental clearance, end quote. And the company has also stated that it has experienced unexpected delays in initiating the project because of certain circumstances, laws, and legal procedures that have been changing every year. One other factor that we have yet to state is the fact that all of these issues were not being debated in days or even months, but years. The project that has been signed in 2005 would have these regulatory hurdles that would last until 2011, the year that the memorandum expired. And even after they were given a final clearance on January 31st, 2011, the agreement also listed a number of conditions. Hence, after years of challenges, the final clearance was set, and the expired MOU was stated to be replaced. But here's the issue. Government hurdles were not the only factors playing out here. There were several anti-POSCO movements going along Odisha. Public sentiment was bad. Very bad. Simply because there would be at least 20,000 people that would be affected by the steel project. Their lands would be devastated, farmlands that were being used to assure farmers' income. A clash would then be set around the project, a battle against the anti-POSCO movement and the POSCO supporters. But even after the anti-POSCO movement would be a big challenge for the steel project and several regulatory hurdles, the $12 billion would still be greenlit. And throughout the many protests and official complaints, the land had been acquired somewhere between 2011 and 2013. Unfortunately, however, some have taken the protest to another level. It was reported that some had even been squatting around the area, trying to block entry points. And by the time they had acquired about 2,700 hectares for the steel project, the real ecological damage was now being revealed. Some official reports cited that there, the environment has been devastated. In 2012, an official international complaint was made and sent to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which stated that POSCO did not conduct due diligence regarding human rights and the environmental impact of the project. Where we include international pressures along with some of the government and the citizens of India, it would make due sense for POSCO to find that the project was no longer viable. Why continue to push a project that is met with public anger? Hence, by 2017, POSCO would officially pull out of the project. The biggest issues, as officials have cited, were due to land acquisition, presumably due to protests along with raw materials. POSCO has cited that the linkage between the project and finding raw materials was also under regulatory issues and a lot more. Surprisingly, in just 4 short years after POSCO had cancelled the project, they would once again announce that they would return. Or at the very least, the company was saying that they were evaluating options for a yet again $12 billion steel project. But as for the time of writing, there has been no other update that is going to make sure the project will come alive. But anyway, as far as we know, there has been no news about an actual realization of the investment. Do let us know, however, what you think. Was the POSCO failure due to the company or regulatory issues? And do you think they'll be able to succeed in investing in the future? Thanks for watching.